Hey there, it is Sunday afternoon. It's rainy and I need to make dinner, but I'm gonna make it using up some stuff that I overbought. And I feel like this is going to be my new normal as a Costco newbie. So, this is a Costco newbie video episode series because this is probably going to end up being a series. We're new to Costco and I keep losing my mind going in Costco. But today's dinner is going to be based off of one Costco rotisserie chicken, probably only half the chicken, some of the tomatoes on a vine that I got from Costco because I saw them and I had to get them, and one of the two rustic Italian loaves that I got from Costco. I did not mean to get two rustic Italian loaves. I wanted to get a garlic parmesan, I think that's what it was, loaf, and one rustic Italian loaf. And at this point, one of the loaves are a day old. So I need to use it up. So we're gonna do a Italian chicken bread bake, cheesy Italian chicken bread bake. Yes, that's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. Because we're using cheese. I forgot to say that. I have a block of mozzarella that I got from Aldi. I didn't get that from Costco. And then with the tomatoes that I said and the rustic bread, it's gonna be like a bruschetta kind of, but a bruschetta bake with cheese and tomatoes. Maybe I'll drizzle some balsam. We'll see. Let's just see what we do. Let's see. I gotta use up the bread. It's a day old already. I gotta do that. So come on, let's make Sunday dinner. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut up the loaf into cubes, and then I'm gonna put it in my casserole dish. Fancy casserole dishes, I like to say. I'm gonna make this in an expensive casserole dish. I think that's kind of ironic. Anyway, so you want to keep this up. You can actually probably do slices too, and then like put slices. Do I want to do that? Nope, we're gonna keep it today. But another way to do it, maybe we'll do another video. If you guys like this recipe, we can always try it again, and I'll do slices instead. But with the slices, you would do slices, then put a slice of cheese, a slice of chicken, and then sprinkle the tomatoes on top and then the cheese on top, and then like you kind of have like basically little sandwiches. That's what it's gonna end up being like. My kid's watching TV, so you're gonna hear him laughing in the background, but that's another way to do it. Today I'm making it just as easy as possible, cubing this up. Gonna cut up the cheese into cubes, half of the cheese into cubes, the other half we're gonna shred so that way we can top it with cheese as well. And then we'll slice the tomatoes in half, sprinkle those in there. It's just gonna be a hodgepodge, and then we'll drizzle it with oil, stir it up, bake it, and that'll be that. Oh, and the chicken, obviously, but I'm gonna shred the chicken because everything is so rustic. Everything's gonna either be cubed or shredded or just pulled apart, mixed together, and then it'll be like a little chicken bread bake type deal. All right, so let's cut this up. Okay, so we're gonna take the whole thing out, and literally I only needed probably half of this this bread, this loaf. It was very dense. I had obviously never bought this from Costco before, but I've had Italian bread before. I knew that it was going to be a little bit dense like this, which is kind of like why my brain worked the way that it did. But oh, look at that. See, it's still good bread. It's day-old bread. We know that day-old bread is not the worst bread in the world. So it was definitely still edible. It was still delicious. You're not going to see that on camera, but I did sneak a little taste of it, and it was just so good. So I knew it would be okay, but as I was started to cut, I'm like, I feel like this is going to be too much bread. And I was kind of right, but kind of not. In our house,
almost everyone, I think I'm the only one in my house that doesn't appreciate croutons like they should be, but everyone else in this house loves croutons. So I knew that this dinner would go over really well, just because it was basically going to be croutons with tomatoes and cheese and chicken. It did. It went over pretty well. I mean, you'll see at the end what it looked like. So I didn't really mind the bread being, so like hefty. But I wasn't quite sure about using the whole loaf and if that would be too much, even for my crouton loving family. But you see, I cubed it. I cut them into not too tiny of a cube. I actually did want it to be pretty substantial when you scooped it up and put it in a bowl. But yeah, that's what I did. Oh, by the way, I know I said I was going to use the tomatoes I got on the vine from Costco. I didn't because I forgot I already had tomatoes in the fridge, so I cut those up instead. So those are different tomatoes. So after I cubed up the bread, I went ahead and got the rotisserie chicken out. And this, I only used half of the chicken. I don't remember if I said that in the beginning or not when I was kind of processing how we were going to do this, like literally thinking in real time at the beginning of this video. But I only used half of this chicken. Now, because I only used half of the chicken doesn't mean I'm not going to process the whole chicken. This is one of my favorite things about getting a rotisserie chicken, especially from like a big box store. We used to go to a different big box store. Now we're obviously trying out Costco. But I will try to get one or two at a time if I can. And then I will process one of them immediately. Like I'm doing right now, I pull the legs off. I take off that little string that they have to kind of put it together, keep it together as it's on the spit for the rotisserie. I take the wings off. So I'm really just like completely taking the whole carcass apart. And then what I do is, I think I filmed it in this video, you'll see it in a second. What I do is I put it in a Tupperware, and then if anybody wants to nosh on some chicken for their lunch, or I need chicken for like a dinner, or I want to put together a little lunch for everybody, I can take it from that little container throughout the next couple of days and use it properly. So this is me just literally taking everything off. So what I'm doing is, for this particular recipe, I'm taking apart the body right there. That's what I'm going to be using for this recipe. I use light and dark meat because I have a child that likes both light and dark meat. I have a child that only likes light meat, and I have a child that only likes dark meat. So if I use half of the chicken and make sure that I use the thighs, I use the breast, I use every part of that half, I'm ensuring that everybody will be taken care of. If you have a family that only likes the light meat, obviously you'd want to use all of that chicken breast, or use both of the chicken breasts and then use the dark meat for something different, putting it in the freezer or something like that, which is another tip that I'm going to share. So let's say it's like a couple of days in and the chicken's still in the fridge, and I'm like, I'm not keeping a rotisserie chicken in my fridge for a week. That's bad news. You get a couple of days to get it done, 4 days max, and then if it's not taken care of, it goes in the freezer. I put that meat in the freezer, in a freezer bag. If I take the minute to make like a chicken stock, a bone broth or something like that in the slow cooker, see, yeah, that right there. That's what I use. That's what I use to make bone broth. Then I will put some of that bone broth in the freezer bag with the meat, so that way it'll keep it nice and juicy. But if I don't, then it just goes in the freezer the way it is. I take as much air out of it as possible. But you see here, this is me doing, like I said, I'm putting it in our Tupperware. And this is the Tupperware that will be put in the fridge for whoever wants to have some chicken for lunch, or if I wanted to make another chicken dish for that week for dinner. And I'm also at the same time trying to leave what I want to use in this dish on the cutting board, so that way I know what I have left. So this is what I'm going to use. This is the amount that I decided on, and now we're going to chop it up. I think I said I was going to shred the chicken. I decided last minute, just because it was already on the chopping board. I was like, I'll just chop it up, and we'll get different sizes of cubed chicken instead of shredded chicken. So that's me just on the fly changing the recipe that I already told y'all out loud. But yeah, and this was just, it was sitting here, it was ready to go. So I was like, let's just do it this way instead of putting it in my my mixer to shred the chicken, which is what I try to use if I'm going to shred chicken, if I don't want to do it with my hands. But it was already on the thing, so I was like, go ahead and just chop it up. And this ended up working out better. You'll see as I put it together that, it just made more sense to cube it than to shred it. I think shredding it would have just the chicken might have dried out once I baked it in the oven if it was shredded compared to cubes, just because everything else was just sliced and cubed. So it just fit the theme of the meal, and it helped everything kind of warm up, the same way when I put it in the oven. But yeah, this is just me chopping up the chicken. I think I did the dark meat already, or is that the light meat? I can't really tell which one it is. Yes, I took the skin off for this recipe. Usually I like to keep the skin on for a recipe, but I wasn't sure how it would affect everything once it got into the oven. Would it be all gummy and rubbery if I left it on? And I didn't want to jinx that. I knew for a fact that if I just only did the chicken would be fine and nothing would be messed up, and everything in the recipe would be fine once I put it in the oven. So I just took the skin off and I put it in that container there, because we do enjoy chicken skin. So I just put it in the container. Now for the cheese, this is just mozzarella cheese. I cut it in half, and then half of it I cubed. This is going to be that half. This half is going to be the cubed half. Just because, like I said, in my mind, I was like, oh, wait, you already cubed the bread, so why not cube the chicken? And then we're going to cube up some of the cheese, too. So that's what I'm doing here. I cubed up 1/2 of 1 block of cheese. So that's all I used in this recipe. I did have Parmesan in the fridge, and I could have put some little bits of Parmesan at least on top. I didn't, because I wanted to show you how I was using these particular ingredients that I already mentioned to you. And so after I cubed the cheese, I shredded the other half. So the cubed cheese is actually going to be sprinkled inside of the casserole. So I'm going to just place blocks of it all over. And then the shredded cheese is going to be sprinkled on top. So that way you get gooey, cheesy goodness in the middle. And then you get that crispy, crunchy, shredded cheese on top. Doesn't that sound so good? Oh, just saying it out loud, it sounds good. And then the bread turns into kind of croutons, and the tomatoes burst, and they start getting all juicy and gooey and mixing up, and the chicken's already juicy, especially if you get a scoop of dark meat on your plate after you have this casserole. It just for such a simple meal, it is so delicious and enticing. So here I am. I'm finished with the cheese, and I just put it all on the same cutting board, just because it just was going to make it easier for me to assemble everything and have just one side be the cubes, one side be the shredded cheese, and then that's that. I think this ended up being my last step, was doing the cheese anyway, so that worked out. So here are the other ingredients that I use. So I use some dried Italian seasoning. I use avocado oil. I use garlic. And then I started to assemble everything. So that's just in that in the casserole dish right now, it's just the bread and the tomatoes. And then I did a good drizzle of avocado oil on top, sprinkling it with the Italian seasoning. I didn't use like salt and pepper. I just thought about that. I did not use salt and pepper at all, and it came out really great. I am a jarred garlic girly. I know you're gonna judge me. I know people judge me all the time about it. I will always have a jar of minced garlic in the fridge. I also use fresh garlic, but that minced garlic comes in clutch, especially for like things like this. This was me showing you that I have my clean hands, but I oiled them with avocado oil. And yes, I am mixing this together with my hands. This is one of those recipes where a spoon is just, it ain't gonna cut it. Tongs ain't gonna cut it. You have to use your hands, because the more that you toss it with your hands and like strategically place certain things, like I was placing the tomatoes in certain spots because I wanted them to burst underneath certain pieces of bread, and I knew I was going to start putting the chicken in there. So it's just better if you use your hands. So if you're weirded out about that, I'm sorry. But this is just the way that it's gonna work better. You have to use your hands. See, and then I'm taking the chicken and I'm placing it like where it needs to be placed properly. Like, it just works so much better when you use your hands. Like, this is definitely a rustic recipe because you want to get into it. You want to actually get your hands dirty, getting this put together. And you can just visualize what each scoop will entail. That's what I love about using your hands for this, is just as you're putting chicken in certain places and cheese in certain places, you can literally visualize, okay, so that scoop is going to have this amount of chicken, and I want to make sure there's enough tomato, so let's move this tomato over here. Like, it's just fun for me. That's fun for me to do that. And we also don't waste around here, so we're going to take all those little bits of chicken from the cutting board and put those in there as well. Yep, that's what we're doing. That is what we're doing. And don't worry, I'm gonna see the little bit of chicken that's just taunting us on the side of the casserole dish right now. I will see it. In T-minus 1 second. There we go. Yeah, she did it. Okay, and then now we're moving on to the cheese. So I started with the cube cheese, just placing it on top first. And then we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna place it inside so that way we get that perfect scoop, the perfect bite. And then we can see, okay, so this is where this side has too many cubes. So let's move this over to this side, or let's push this down a little bit farther to the bottom of the casserole dish. So that way the bottom actually gets some cheesy goodness as well. But yeah, this is me just really harping on you about using your hands to make this dish, and to make, any type of like breaded or bread casserole dish like this, especially if it has cheese in it. You just want to make sure that every bite gets all the ingredients that you've put together for it. But this was actually pretty easy to put together, even after me taking 15 minutes to think it through in the beginning of this video. It didn't take 15 minutes. It was like 3 minutes. But this is why I love cooking and not necessarily always following a recipe. I think we get stuck on the idea of, following a recipe to a T, and we always, when people are putting their dishes on the internet, we're like, oh my gosh, give me the recipe, and sometimes it doesn't come from a recipe. Most of the times, if you are a good cook or you're becoming a good cook, it's not a recipe. It's like Chopped, like the show Chopped. You get a basket of stuff, you look and you go, okay, this is bread, this is everything. Like, I'm listening to an audiobook. I wanted to give you a thumbs up that we're doing really well. But yeah, I was listening to an audiobook while doing this, by the way.
Here's the end result.
But this is what it looks like once you're done. And this is from, like I'm saying, not even using a recipe, but just knowing what goes together well.
It's like croutons on top.
Bread, cheese, tomato, chicken. Like, it's a no-brainer. But if I would have stopped and said, hey, I have no clue how to make this, I need a recipe, Do you know how long it would have taken me to figure it out and find it out and just put that together? Instead, I said, this is what we have. This is what I want to use up. We're going to make it happen. And that's exactly what I did. It's just so, it came out so well. I was just so excited when I pulled it out of the oven. By the way, I put it in the oven 375. Very simple. You can put it in 350. Everything was cooked. So we really didn't need to like put it on and keep it in there for a long time. I think I kept it in there for about 15 minutes. I just wanted the cheese on top to melt. That's basically what you're waiting on, is for that cheese to melt on top. And that's how you know that the whole casserole dish is warmed up enough and the cheese on the inside is melted, is when that cheese on top melts. So there you go. See, you got a little cheese pull going on there. Ugh, yummy. And this was just a tiny bowl, just to kind of make it aesthetically pleasing for y'all, but we housed it. And then I remembered I had jarred salsa, not salsa, jarred tomato sauce, pasta sauce actually. And I was like, I wonder what that would taste like if we put a little drizzle. So for some of it, we put a little drizzle of pasta sauce on top, which just made it even better, but you don't need that. So like we didn't need it. I just wanted to see what it would be like if we put a little jarred pasta sauce on top of it. So dinner was finished way before you guys saw the sun was still out when I showed you the final product. But I at least wanted to say goodbye. I hope you enjoyed this little peek into how my brain works when it comes to making certain things like this and how easy it is for you to do the same. More coming soon, because these are the types of videos I think I'm going to start doing. First of all, Costco Newbie, definite series that I'm going to be doing, because we are so new to it and I'm discovering all these wonderful things about it I have to share. And then secondly, just like the fact that we don't waste around here and I always find a way to use up things. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, go ahead, make sure you subscribe so that way you can see even more of my crazy brain in action. And we'll see you again soon. Bye.